I'm now joined in studio by Power Man, Fredrick Mamabolo. Welcome to the Power Life.
Thank you, Masechaba. Thank you very much.
So, Fredrick, you know, we are in interesting times.
Yeah.
Politically and otherwise. What's happened to our ability to relate to people?
I have to start by saying it is heartbreaking to realize that relationships are the number one sources of depression and stress. And they are also, in the same hand, a number one source of happiness and joy. If they work, they give you joy. They give you extreme joy. They give you extreme happiness. They can even give you extreme wealth and extreme success. When they don't work, they become worse than demons. They give you extreme stress, extreme depression, and people commit suicide. And if you find out why they did it, they will tell you, they won't say it's because there's a tree that grew in my yard. They would not say it's because my car is stolen. They will tell you something about their relationship with someone. Now, with that in mind, knowing the power of relationship from that point, my question has always been, why don't we invest more into fixing this relationship? Look, you don't inherit my wealth when I die on the basis of you speaking good English or you being educated. You inherit on the basis of the relationship we had when you were alive. Now, if people can know that, look, there is power in relating, and they can know that I become or I don't become on the basis of who I relate, how I relate, and when do I relate. We were talking about 3 weeks ago about people who were counted on the wheel of our former president, Nelson Mandela, who were inheriting a portion. Now, everyone who was inheriting there was some form of relationship.
Right.
And the greater the relationship, the greater
the inheritance.
You got it. Now, why don't we go and create greater relationships? Because the same method goes in everyday life. If we go out there and we build strong relationship, you get strong return. And the other bad news is, stronger relationship are the ones who will give you stronger pain if misused. Weaker relationship, of course, are the ones who will also make you weaker when they don't work. I am unsure myself as to whether have we lost our relational interest? Is it an issue of commitment? Is it an issue of accountability? But moreover, I think everybody wants to lead. I think that's where the problem is. I want to be in charge. I want my voice to be heard. Music groups are breaking every day, and the greater root of breaking this is everybody who started to want to be in charge. Everybody else wanted to rule. Everybody else wanted to be the man in the group. I mean, you can name a number of groups that we had back in the days.
And let's talk about that, because we cannot all lead.
No, we cannot. I have to accept that there are areas where Masechaba is better than me.
Yes.
And when we come to that area, I have to back off. And vice versa. There will always be somebody smarter than you. There will always be somebody more stronger than you. There will always be somebody taller, shorter,
prettier,
darker, fatter than you.
Yes.
You have to really make peace with those. And the competition to being who you are lead you to become a cheap duplicate of something very expensive. And at the end of the day, what it leads you to saying what somebody was saying, I think in your tweets, that says, you know what, I'm going into relationships and this time it's all about me and not about the next person. I don't call that a relationship, because you can't have a relationship like that which you have with the petrol station, where you just you other people are like a pump of petrol. They just connect to you to fill you up. After that, they just disconnect you, close, and you go. Unfortunately, relationships are on a give and take. But unfortunately, lately, I think even animals relate better than us. We saw in the past weeks where some of the great people moved from one party to join the other.
In some cases, for 1 week.
For only 1 week, and they were back in the days before you go into a relationship, you give it a thought.
Yeah.
Because you remember what I said 3 weeks ago. I said things don't end up wrong.
Yes.
They start wrong. And that's how our relationship breaks.
Yes.
Relationships don't break somewhere along their way. They break at the beginning. You start them wrong, they are going to end wrong. Apply your mind when you get into this relationship. What is it that I'm going to give in there? What is it that I'm going to receive? Why am I receiving it, and why am I giving it? To who am I giving, and from whom am I receiving? How long is this going to be? And how do I see when it has ended? Because sometimes we overstay our welcome. Well, there are those relationships like between you and your mother. There's really no beginning and an end.
Yes.
But there come a day you must move out. There come a day when you really have to move out. We need to know when we have overstayed our welcome. Some relationships, we damage them by staying too short. Some of them, we damage them by staying too long. Some of them, we damage them by coming in too quickly. Some of them, we damage them by coming at the right time, but doing too much in them before the relationship is strong enough to can carry whatever burden you put on it. I always say, especially a spousal relationship, they are like two pillars of a bridge. The man and the woman, or the husband and the wife. They're like these two long pillars. Now, their relationship is like a stick that joins these two pillars. Now, here is a little stick. This stick gets thicker and thicker the more they relate. Now, sometimes while the stick between them is still so thin, we start loading a lot of baggage. We take too much sex and we load it on top of it. We just met. We just met 4 children. We add all this financial burden on that. And little by little, the stick collapses. I said to someone, and I was saying to Ntatela Sivatupe, I was saying to him, cars don't break. The relationship between the system just goes wrong. Because my dashboard was there, my battery was there, the key was there, but all of a sudden the dashboard was not coming on. And I could tell you the problem was not on the dashboard. It was somewhere the relationship between that dashboard and the battery that should switch on that. And every time you call an electrician to come to the house, he doesn't quickly rush to the bulbs. He wants to see where the source of power is, and then he checks the relationship in between to say what went wrong. And I can tell you relationships are important. Builders, they don't start off saying, let's build a wall. They set a line, a course. That's what they do. The second thing, they put one brick to the next, another brick to the next. This whole building right here is just pieces of bricks joined one to the other. Imagine if all these bricks can start saying, I don't want to be close to this one. I feel like I want to be on my own. We will never build.
No.
And every society relies on the strength of the relationships therein.
Fredrick Mamabolo, you leave me speechless. Every time I'm in conversation with author, mentor, speaker, power man, Fredrick Mamabolo, and we are talking about the value of relationships. It used to be everlasting relationships. Now it's the never-lasting relationship. Why are we struggling to nurture and to keep relationships, personally or professionally? And I'm in conversation with Fredrick Mamabolo, power man, author, mentor, speaker. So Fredrick, you know, as you were speaking, I was thinking, either we are not applying as much effort, or we have just become a nation of non-thinkers. Do you perhaps think that we are not taking the time? Because you mentioned some very important questions we should all be asking ourselves at the onset of a relationship. Before you rush into the sex, or you rush into getting into bed with a professional partner. The things that you need to apply your mind, are we becoming non-thinkers?
Well, there's two ways. Rushing into relationship has become the new swag. It has become the real new swag. It's like, I've acquired a new friend. What have you guys been doing since we met? We want to put some mileage into it. But exactly, the thought has been taken away. But then, the dominant one, I think you've probably, it's going around there. You've probably read the book, is it How Many Shades of Grey? Whatever, Shades of Grey.
50 Shades of Grey.
Exactly.
Woo!
There's the dominant and the submissive. Now, the dominant will always say, my way or the highway.
Yeah.
That's one problem of many relationships. The my way or the highway syndrome. If it is not done this way, it would not be done anyway. But unfortunately, I won't tell you that at the beginning. And you're right. More and more of us apply less and less of ourselves to what we go into. We just go. And there's one element that really, I think is a God's given gift to us that we abuse. Emotions. And it's amazing that even the emotions, they don't set us much in motion. And unfortunately, the motion of emotion only take you a little distance and they come back. And you are left alone, motionless, with those emotions that brought you into that very motion that is no longer motion. But what the problem with us is the applying of thought. What happened to the men and women who would ask you, back in the days when you bring a girl home, Ukoko will ask you, "Kingwana gamango?" There will be that intrinsic interest in you.
Yes.
Lately, people will relate with you for a week and they don't have interest really in you. In other words,
maybe they have interest in your poontang.
They have an interest in one of your elements that can fall off you. You know, we are all like trees. They want to shake you. And something fall off.
And see what they can grab.
And they grab as much as they can. And we are off. Everyone is replaceable.
Yeah.
I don't know how. The only problem is that if I can replace you, you can replace me. So am I not being unjust to myself?
Oh, yes. And now that you brought in the analogy of the tree.
Yeah.
Do you remember a time when we used to steal steal fruit?
Yes,
and the punishment was to have to eat a whole bucket of that thing.
Yes.
So maybe that's the reason why relationships don't last. If you're going to give it all up too soon, then the chances are likely that you devalue your product.
Again, you and I spoke about desperation some other weeks ago. You remember when we were talking about desperation, that expensive stuff will be sold at a very cheap price and cheap things will be sold very expensively. Desperation as well pushes people into relationships they don't want. But the most, and when I wrote that article that had 4 elements that I said, these are the 4 major elements that break relationships. Amongst them was arrogance. Somehow along the relationship, some people says, I'm the one who always, I brought, and that arrogance starts to break the very same relationship. The other thing is short-sightedness. Why do you go into a relationship if you don't see value in it? We all go into these relationships and we discover right down into the relationship that there's no value that we're getting into this. But you realize 2 weeks down the line that you have had 4 exes in 4 days.
Ooh.
You are an ex yourself.
Oh, so Fredrick, to what extent do you think perhaps, just maybe, our tolerance levels for other people may have dropped?
I think it has dropped decimally. I don't know whether I should blame it on global warming or on what, but I can tell you it has really dropped decimally. Okay, let me talk about me.
Yes.
My tolerance is not as good as I would want it to be.
Okay.
It's not as good as I want it to be. Sometimes, in fact, after screaming and yelling, I stand back and say, what was I yelling about? Have you ever realized how much we love people after we've lost them? Especially after when you knew you were wrong. You were in that argument and they did something and you knew this one I can just tolerate it, brush it off and let it go. I can reach my goal. Lately we forsake our goals for a smaller thing. Somebody who didn't compliment you, you decide, you know what? I'd rather spend the whole night sleeping on the couch because they didn't say my dress looked good.
Or I'd rather be with Usipo, who showered me with compliments.
Who always shower me with compliments.
Yeah.
And then when you get into bed with Sipo, he then showers you with complications. And unfortunately, the compliments are no longer there to rescue from the complications. Then you have bought complications with compliments.
Ooh.
I mean, compliments, they don't last that long anyway. But you are right. Our tolerance level have really dropped. Our commitment levels have really dropped. Our definition of freedom have really changed. In fact, we so much want freedom that we are actually thinking of negotiating with Gautrain to say to the train, listen, they confine you to the same railway. You know what? You need to be set free. In other words, we want extreme freedom. We want extreme independence. We want independence even from our own morals. We want independence even from even a 5-year-old want to go solo. A 5-year-old. Choirs don't last anymore. Back in the days, we used to have choirs that would sing.
Groups don't last. Just yesterday I was talking to a friend about squatter camp.
Yes.
Who were a phenomenal hip hop group. What happened
the
there?
TKZs, the black, back in the days, the Boys to Men.
Yes.
You know, the
What
TLC,
happened?
that group.
Yes.
Where are those people?
But if you look at the groups before this time, but Boys to Men, they lasted.
They lasted
TLC
longer.
lasted. Yes.
You know, you. I moved from primary school until post high school. Some groups were still there. Lately, a group goes once, twice. It's gone.
It's gone.
Good things don't last anymore.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to stay. I was on Google today. I tried to check the shortest marriage. There's been marriage where people were married in the morning, divorced by evening.
No, come on.
I mean, really. And I started saying, is that the lifespan of a relationship in our days? Is that what kids move out quicker than their readiness? In other words, back in the days, you had to be pushed to move because you get ready and overstay. Right now, they move out and get ready while they go. They leave even before they get nobody. And every leadership starts with how you treat your relationships, because unless you can relate to me, you can't lead me. You can't lead people if you can't relate to them. And good relationships leads to good leadership, and good leadership leads to good societies. And now, when we are going through what we are going through right now, you can only pinpoint it on one thing. If you pinpoint it on leadership, I will pinpoint it on relationships.
Wow.
And if I pinpoint it on relationship, I pinpoint it on you and me.
I'm chatting to Fredrick Mamabolo, getting to the crux of breaking the generational curse in our society. We're taking
is emotions.
Yes.
Will not take you far. That's what our context was.
Yes.
When we said emotions will not give you motion.
Yes.
And I like the fact that he really gave our point or this discussion substance.
Yes.
When he says it's true. That's exactly what we were saying. We were saying you can't run the entire relationship on emotion.
Yes.
You can't.
Yes.
And we said the motion of the emotion will end you up emotionless.
Absolutely.
And stand still at one point. I think he made a radical point.
I think he made an amazing point. How much of this agape love are we all capable of achieving? I mean, we know this is a Greek word that's often translated love into a sacrificial kind of love, right? A love that is selfless, where we love unconditionally. Biblically, it's been described as the way in which God loves, not for who you are or what you do, but it is a choice to love.
The root word of agape just means unconditional love.
Yes.
And I always argue that it's one love that is so serious that only God is capable of it. And it differentiates, that's the kind of love that differentiates me and you from God. God loves us with that love. But I don't think there's anyone who loves anyone unconditionally to a extent where you say, no, you can come and stand on the table, kick me on the face, and kill my kids. I love you.
I love you.
But God is capable of that.
God is capable.
That's why we don't go to people. We go to God for such kind of love.
Yeah.
However, we are capable of a necessary love that can run us from day to day.
All right. Well, I'm in conversation with Fredrick Kaonafatso Mamabolo, and we're talking about relational muscles in us, strengthening those muscles, because we seem to be getting weaker and weaker when it comes to maintaining relationships. But we have 7 minutes left before we have to go to news. Let's go straight to Soli in Tshwane. Good evening, Soli.
Masechaba, good evening. How are you?
Fantastic. And how are you?
I'm excellent. And Dade Mamabolo, good evening to you as well. You know what? I want to agree 100% with what you said, and perhaps just go quickly to, the day that I was counseled before marriage, and it's something that you touched on. And this is something that I see being the biggest problem. My wife's uncle said, you need to look at the person that you're getting married to and say, tomorrow when love is gone, will I still be able to live with this person? Meaning, you need to look at your tolerance level. You need to look at yourself being able to tolerate all the little things or the bad things that this person, is bringing to your life. Or would you be able to live with it or not? And I mean, it goes even to your relationship in an organization, that you might be aspiring to go into. what happens, when you actually get into that organization and realize that everything is not as hunky-dory? Are you still able to continue and saying there is a vision that I am having for this organization? And, my uncle said if you see yourself not being helped by this person, then this person will not be the right person for you. Yeah. So if you cannot see each other being complementary to each other, if you see the organization that you are in not complementing you as a person and not seeing you to the heights that you want to go to, then you are definitely in the wrong place. And this is the problem that we're having in South Africa. Well, let me say the world over, because I've actually had an opportunity to travel. It's like it's all about me. It's all about now. It's not about tomorrow. It's not about what happens when the fluctuations wear off, because it does actually get to wearing off, and then what happens then? Are we able to then say, with 1, 2, 3, I'm still able to make it work? With the faults that this person or this organization has, I'm still able to make it work. I mean, you made a typical example of what happens when, people just decide that, this relationship or this organization is just not working for me anymore. Then the question is, what were you hoping to get in the first place? Because if you were not seeing beyond the little things, then the bigger things really strikes you down, and then it really keeps you out.
Wow. Soli, thank you so much for calling in with that profound analysis. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So let's quickly go to our last caller for this conversation. Good evening, Dumsani.
Great show, Masechaba, is beautiful. And
thank
great,
you.
Great. You got a great man there.
Yes.
Chief, how are you doing?
Thank you, sir. I'm fine. How are you?
Very well. This is Dumisani, a former colleague of yours.
Oh, Dr. Dumisani Magadlela.
Yes, and man, I love your work. Well done.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
A quick note on the subject matter, Masechaba. Something to just maybe just tweak things a little bit.
Yes.
There's something that we all have. When we say we're God's children, it means that we have God's DNA. I want to talk about the subject of unconditional love, our capability for that.
Yes.
Talking to the agape part of it.
Yes.
That we have the capability within us to love unconditionally and to love like that. It's aspirational for us to aspire to watch that and be at that level. We can make that. The point is, how far are we willing to go? There's a level of consciousness and awakening that each one of us must achieve in this lifetime for us to arrive at a certain level where we are conscious and awake. But we need guys like you and like some of those coaches to work with human awareness and human consciousness, human evolution, to really wake up to that we're not where we're supposed to be. We can be more than we are right now.
We can be more than where we are right now. Love that. Thank you so much, Dumsani, for calling into the Power Life.
Great, guys.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Fredrick, we have an email here from Masha, who says, I once put myself in the rushing relationship situation where I dated a co-worker and everything was so good until I relocated. We just grew apart and I found myself alone in a relationship. I was the one traveling to his place, making time, and all he did was calling, and that was enough for him. I don't know how many times I brought it up, and it happened once, then back to the same situation. But I later realized that I mustn't go into a relationship when lonely.
Yes.
Then started going into a relationship when ready for commitment and growth. Masha, the wisdom. Yo.
Yeah, Masechaba, I agree, because look, what doctor said is we are capable of being better than who we are. Really, we are capable. We can fly higher than we are already. Really. And I wanted to share just 1, 2, 3 points that I think these are the points that will help us to go home and take ourselves into that gym of exercising the muscle. And I will go through them quickly. One, for me, is learn to listen to others. Don't just talk all the time. Agree and affirm them when they are right. And then the other one, number 3, is take time to look at the other side of the story. Every time there's an argument that can break the relationship, look at the other side of the story. Give it the benefit of the doubt. Number 4, do not jump to conclusions on things without without giving them a thought. Number 5, give others the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes they've had a hard day. Can you wait until tomorrow before you discuss it? Number 6, make peace with the fact that someone out there is better than you, wiser than you. And number 7, make more honest dealing. Get in a relationship honestly. Do it right in the first go. It will pay off. The last one is respect others, and that is not an option. It's a must.
Whoa, Mr. Fredrick Mamabolo, thank you so much for joining us on The Power Life. Can I add my number 9?
Yes, ma'am. Please, please.
Every relationship needs a hero.
Yes. Somebody must care for this relationship. Somebody must be the head of it.
Thank you so much.
And unfortunately, we can't all be kings.
I love that.
fmamabolo@gmail.com or Kaonafatso Fredrick Mamabolo on Facebook. I think there's that Twitter thing. It starts with @Fredrick Mamabolo, something like that. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, sir. It's 8 o'clock. It's time for the news.
Power News.
Court stories dominate the news, and the U.S. hit by yet another storm. Good evening, I'm Dumisang Dlovu, and this is Power News at 8. Mixed emotions on day 1 of the Oscar Pistorius murder trial. As expected, the Paralympian pleaded not guilty to 3 gun-related charges as well as the intentional murder of his model girlfriend, Riva Steenkamp. Both the Pistorius and Steenkamp families sat on the same bench in the North Gauteng High Court, listening to today's proceedings, which included the testimony of the state's first witness, Michelle Berger. Berger, who lives at an estate next to that where Pistorius lived at the time of the incident, told the court that she heard shouting, gunshots and then silence. As Tshidimadia reports, much like the international